One of our deepest needs is to be believed. We have stories to tell and we want to be heard. I think this is especially true when we've experienced harm. A story comes to mind. Years ago, a friend of mine told me about a very painful experience she had. She was assaulted by a man. And I remember sitting there so unsure of how to respond. In fact, at the time, I thought that it was better to just be with people in pain, even in silence, rather than to say something that could never take that pain away and risk trivializing it in some way. But my inability to respond or to communicate care in that moment was really disappointing for my friend. And I remember to this day, her saying to me, "You didn't even ask if I wanted to say more about that." And as I reflect on her saying that today, or lately, I hear in that statement that my friend wanted the experience of being believed out loud. She wanted empathy. At the time, I didn't have the skills to communicate care for her, like I said, but I've learned since then the power of simply saying things like, "I'm so sorry that happened to you," or that you had to go through that, or "Thank you for trusting me enough to share that with me," or simply, "I believe you." But oftentimes in our world, empathy just isn't on the menu, especially when we're talking across lines of privilege. In my upcoming book, All the White Friends I Couldn't Keep, which is right behind me, it begins with the lyrics of one of my songs called Delusional. And I wrote Delusional at a time in my life when I was bending over backwards trying to get the white people in my life to believe my stories about being discriminated against by landlords and neighbors and profiled by the police and other anti-Black experiences. I wanted from them the same thing that my friend wanted from me, to be believed. Empathy. But I learned in very personal and painful ways that the common sense of supremacy culture is so deeply entrenched in the minds of the privileged that they often literally cannot empathize with marginalized people. And I came to realize that these people that I loved were never, ever going to say, "I believe you." So I was wasting my time and harming myself in speaking to persuade them. And so I had to start telling the truth for completely different reasons. I had to change the angle on it. And I started telling the truth because it just felt good to do so. It felt like I was laying claim on my sanity. It felt empowering to do so. And once I leaned into that, the way that I started speaking up changed. It was more bold, more grounded, more clear. So the first part of the book goes in depth into what that process was like, but the song Delusional is the song that I wrote while I was learning that lesson. And it's one of the first times that I dared to stand in my truth. The truth that racism is real, something that I've experienced, something that I'm going to stand against in this bold and defiant way. And that's why the book starts with those lyrics, the first lyrics of Delusional. "It must be good to be you. You only believe what you want." And it's also why I produced a remix of that song that's only available when you pre-order the book, because this is our anthem for everyone who's ever been told that their story is invalid. I want you to stand in your truth, tell those gaslighting oppressors with me that you're not delusional.
So no, I will not dry my tears for you, just so that you can